There's a new QB in town. You didn't see him coming, neither did I, but Matt probably did. And what's going on with the running backs? Who's next in free agency today on Locked On Chiefs?
From the land of the free and the home of the Chiefs, this is the Locked On Chiefs podcast.
Welcome back, everybody. It is a Wednesday show recorded here on Tuesday afternoon, and the news is dropping like flies. We're brought to you by Gametime. Check that out by downloading the Gametime app, creating an account, and using our code LOCKEDONNFL. Yes, the code did change to get $20 off of your first purchase. That's Locked On NFL on the Gametime app. We are going to cover who could be the next contract, either acquisition or renewal, either way, that could be coming to this team. What's the best fit to get something done pre-draft? And right now, the bank account is open. It is flowing. There's some additions coming in. Nothing surprised me more than as I was driving around last night, Matt. I had to do a little RGR segment there from the Jeep. Folks, if you don't know Matt, he runs Chiefs Digest both here on YouTube and ChiefsDigest.com. He covers the Chiefs in depth from inside and is our man on the ground. I'm Ryan Tracy, the founder of Rogue Analytics and Performance Consulting. The Athletic Matrix is out. The draft guide is coming. Get your discount by using the code LOC at rogueapc.com and check out NFL 33 and RGR Football while you're at it. Matt, as I'm driving around, the news drops, and I just did something little from the car because I was actually quite surprised by the Carson Wentz signing. I knew a veteran was in the mix, but did you think the Ginger Stallion previously of Doug Peterson's corral would be coming to Kansas City?
Yes. Did I know it? No. Was it a suspected possibility? Yes. Once the Chiefs didn't sign Blaine Gabbert immediately, you looked at the possibility that they were looking at some other options, and Brett Veach at the pre-combine had even alluded to maybe even looking at quarterbacks in the draft this year, as far as looking for someone who was maybe a better fit for being a backup behind Mahomes, someone that was a little bit more athletic, bigger, certainly somebody that maybe had some quarterback sneak potential in them. And I mean, Carson Wentz checks all the boxes. He's a West Coast offense guy. He's played in a lot of West Coast offenses. He's played in an offense very similar to Andy Reid and thrived in it. So, the switch for him shouldn't be hard. I mean, he should be able to pick everything up very, very quickly. You certainly feel like there's a lot of juice still in Carson Wentz. He's a young guy. Has he always had the best coaching? No, that's probably been one of the things that have, been an issue for him since things kind of went south in Philadelphia. But he's still got, little juice left in him. You feel like that. Is he the kind of guy that you can see like a whole lot of craziness going on? Two quarterbacks on the field, anything? No, I don't think Carson Wentz is that guy. But certainly, I mean, if you want somebody to run a quarterback sneak, I mean, he's your guy. Big enough to do that, and that you don't have to risk Mahomes. And Sam McDowell in the Kansas City Star did a pretty good, look at the numbers as just for how successful Carson Wentz has been on quarterback sneaks, even before the tush push. So he's got that. I mean, you look at all the boxes the Chiefs won in a backup quarterback, veteran, West Coast experience, good character, ability to play. I mean, he checks all the boxes, and it's a good spot for him because you feel he's got to feel like as a backup, if he gets an opportunity to go in and play in Kansas City, he should have some success. And if that means it gets an opportunity for him to be a starter somewhere else down the road, I think it checks all the boxes for Carson Wentz too.
I want to do a two scenario thing here. Best case scenario, bright sunny day. Worst case scenario, thunderstorm, tornado watch kind of thing. So if Carson Wentz is on this roster, clearly meant to be the backup, at least in my estimation, what's the best case scenario for how the season looks for him and his addition to this team?
Well, I mean, I think the best case scenario, if you're the Chiefs, is, Carson Wentz gets to play in one game as a starter. It's game 17 in week 18 because the Chiefs have everything wrapped up at that point, and maybe he's played in a few games in a mop-up role. Maybe he's gone out and run a half dozen quarterback sneaks or plays that are fourth down plays that you just go out and try and fake it and let him do something. I mean, that's the best case scenario. I mean, worst case scenario is Mahomes gets hurt, Wentz plays a significant amount of time, and it just doesn't click, and then the Chiefs, the Chiefs, are hoping for when they've got a backup quarterback. This isn't the Indianapolis Colts and Peyton Manning, where the Colts just gave up when their quarterback went down and never bothered. As I won't use the exact quote that was used back in the day because it does involve a word that we don't use on the podcast, Ryan. But the Chiefs do practice messed up. I mean, they're going to give Carson Wentz plenty of time. I mean, he's going to be ready to play at a moment's notice because Andy Reid feels like, hey, if my starting quarterback goes down, I got a team that can still win a Super Bowl, even without the best quarterback on the planet. So they don't give up. I mean, so that's what they feel like Carson Wentz gives them. So, if he had to play, I mean, what they're hoping for at best is that he can be a 500 quarterback, maybe even get you one better than that. And if that happens, and Mahomes will have to miss 4 to 6 weeks, that's exactly what Carson Wentz is going to be getting paid for, is to keep the show running and keep the Chiefs in a playoff hunt.
And I think as a quarterback, I think he's capable of that. My only concern is that even still in Philly, but certainly since then, there's been a lot of talk about fit, attitude, how he pulls for a team, or in some cases does not. Does the track record in Indianapolis, then Washington, then last year with the Rams, a lot of short stints. And my question is there something built in that you think, just the presence of Mahomes, but certainly of Andy Reid and Matt Nagy, that builds you in to future-proof yourself against some kind of disgruntlement from a guy who used to be the man, and it's not that far removed from being that guy? I just worry about the chemistry in the room.
Yeah, I mean, I think the fair question to ask, and something that will get asked of Carson Wentz is, why did he choose Kansas City at this point? Why didn't some of those other stints last longer? I mean, Rams are a good team. Why wasn't he sticking in Los Angeles and go back to them? I mean, there's fair questions. I think he's also been placed in some bad situations, I mean, and maybe he didn't always get the best support and best coaching. I think that certainly happened. You could say that happened in Indianapolis, and Washington was obviously just a nightmare place to be the last few seasons. So I can understand why it didn't work in a couple of those places. But you're right. I mean, the coaching environment, the expectations in Kansas City are different. And I think on one hand, I don't think the Chiefs make this signing unless they feel comfortable that Carson Wentz is going to buy in and be a part of it. I mean, he obviously knows what a championship team looks like. The question is, does he know what a championship organization looks like? Because that's the problem that the Eagles have had, has been, having the stability and the long-term aspect of it. Eagles seem to know how to this organization regime seems to know how to build a winner in 1 year, but can they continue to do it year in, year out? And that's where they have had trouble. Chiefs don't have that. I mean, there's an expectation. So on the one hand, if Carson Wentz comes in and between now and training camp doesn't show that he's going to be a part of it, he won't be here anymore. I don't think there's any doubt about that. But if he buys in, you're right. I mean, Matt Nagy, Andy Reid, David Girardi, Patrick Mahomes. I mean, this is the absolute best group in the NFL to be around. And what they're going to ask him to do is to be a voice, to be the veteran and that can tell Mahomes what he needs to hear in the quarterback room. Help young guys like Chris Oladokun, help the receivers learn their game, do all of that. I mean, that's what they're paying him to do. And if he buys into that role, there won't be any problems.
Well, let's hope that that's the way that it goes. Free agency is always a little bit of a gamble against fit. That's going to be the one. Who else are the big fits? Clyde Edwards-Helaire certainly is, because the Chiefs just re-signed him. We're going to talk about that and what else goes into it coming up next on the Locked On Podcast Network. With last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and the lowest guaranteed price, Gametime takes the guesswork out of getting tickets for MLB. Right now, summer's coming. You might as well get in the action. And right down to the last minute, the deals that you want, you can save up to 60% by buying last minute for sports, concerts, theater, comedy, anything. You can get zone deals that give you an area of the venue that you're looking for to pick your seat and get that last minute Gametime kind of discount. Take the guesswork out of buying those tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use our code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off of your first purchase. Terms apply. You just got to create the account and redeem the code. That's LOCKEDONNFL, all one word, to get $20 off. Download that Gametime app today. Last minute tickets, lowest prices, and they are guaranteed. if you are ready to turn down the noise and just get to the content, make the switch over to Locked On Sports Today. It's our free 24/7 stream here on YouTube and on Amazon Fire. You can check that all out and be part of the Locked On Podcast Network. That's your team every single day. Part of this team, up until about 30 minutes ago, was the speculation that J.K. Dobbins, a free agent running back, was in town having a conversation about maybe trying to join the Champs and make some kind of contribution. A little bit to my surprise, Matt, that didn't happen. And that is evidently something that has gone by the wayside. But old friend Clyde Edwards-Helaire has come back on a one-year deal, as we understand it. No details here, as it's very, very fresh. But what does that tell you about the status of the running back position in terms of need? And just how good or bad is the situation out there for free agent running backs if Clyde is back in the stable?
Yeah, I mean, it tells you when it comes to the running backs in the NFL right now, it's a two-class market. I mean, there's the starters that teams feel like they're starters and they're willing to pay them. I mean, at least some teams are. I don't know if the Chiefs will pay their starters when it comes time to do that. I mean, maybe they'll move on. I mean, we know that the running back position has just been, the value of it's can be completely changed in the NFL and how teams approach it. And even individual teams vary from one to another how they approach it. Some teams aren't going to pay $10 million plus for a running back. Some teams will. And we saw some running backs get a lot of great deals. But that's if you're the starting running back. If you are not, you're not getting much of a deal. And I think that's what Clyde saw. I think it was a two-edged sword. I mean, on the one hand, I think that there was definitely a benefit for Clyde to possibly move on to find a fresh start, and has nothing to do with being in the building, because I think it was entirely just because of what the expectations were on him as a first-round pick. And it was tough for him. I don't think there's any doubt about that. I mean, I think in an unguarded moment, he'd probably admit that, it was tough. But here's the thing to know about the Chiefs and players like Clyde is that, if they come back to the Chiefs and it's a player that maybe isn't a fan favorite and maybe has taken some criticism, as a fan, you can pretty much bank on it that the opinion of that player in the locker room and in the building at One Arrowhead Drive is completely divergent from what anybody else thinks. And there's a handful of players that, fit into that. And it goes sometimes the other way around, that there are fan favorites that the fans love and big fans of, but do not fit in that locker room and don't have the same attitude as the organization. And they're no longer in Kansas City. So it goes both ways. But I will say that for sure is that, Clyde, the Chiefs would have loved to have had him back. The only reason I think he would have left would have been that he found a better fit, somewhere closer to home, somewhere where he thought that there was going to be a fresh start. I think he's made a really smart decision in not just taking a deal and going elsewhere for the sake of it. I think McCole figured that out, that sometimes grass isn't always greener on the other side of the fence. Sometimes you're better off sticking with the teammates, the offense, the coaches that that can get the best out of you. And hey, if Clyde comes back to Kansas City, Pacheco goes down and he gets an opportunity to play, it's the same thing with Carson Wentz. He's in a better situation in Kansas City to have a big year in that case, in which case he can, make a case that maybe he can get a job elsewhere. So I think he made a smart decision in that standpoint. And I think that the fact that the Chiefs were willing to bring him back tells you everything you know about his reputation in that building. The teammates love him. He is a respected guy. There is no questions about his commitment and his ability to play in that organization.
I think it's telling that, again, this is a position that even when there is need, is sometimes relegated to the end, the tail end. By getting this done pre-draft tells me that again, they're crossing off some of the list, that maybe some things that they would do. I don't think it precludes them from drafting another running back. But the room isn't set yet either. And so my next question to you is, given the injury and the age of Jerick McKinnon, do you expect the Chiefs trying to work a similar deal with him to try to get him back for another run at this three-peat? Or is this Deneric Prince's time to shine and maybe a draft pick?
Well, and you kind of hit it. I mean, on the one hand, they have some numbers at the position right now, so it's not like that they're desperate at running back. I don't even think that the door is closed on a J.K. Dobbins or another free agent possibly coming in at a very affordable rate, and throw McKinnon in there too. I think that it would probably be tougher for a Dobbins, because I mean, the question to me would be whether he'd be willing to accept the number 3 role. whether he truly felt that he would be the number 2 guy, how he would fit in. I mean, I think if he's coming back from an injury and he's looking for an opportunity to get a lot of snaps, I'm not sure now that Kansas City is the place for him. So maybe there will be another place that would be a better choice for him. McKinnon, I mean, I think it's going to depend about what he wants and what opportunities are there. He did a admirable job last year. I will say this in, one, making the comeback to play a little bit in the Super Bowl was absolutely incredible. No one thought he could do that. And the comeback and be able to do that was amazing. But I don't think there's any doubt. I mean, you could see it. He bristled a little bit at the way that the Chiefs held him last year. He wanted to play more. And that'll be the question, does he want an opportunity to play? He's got a couple of rings now, so it's not like ring chasing. He has to do that. He can do what's most important to him. And I don't know. I haven't talked to him recently, so I don't know if the ring is more important than the playing time. The money will probably be about the same anywhere he would go. But if Jarek wants to play more, chance it's somewhere else. But I also think that right now, I think it's more than likely he waits until after the draft to figure out where he wants to go. If for no other reason than if when you're Jerick McKinnon's age and you get to do that, you're probably not going to do anything in OTAs, and he would be fine not play. I mean, even though he wants more playing time, doesn't mean he wants more snaps in June, July.
Yeah.
And May.
Camp doesn't even sound fun at this point for him, and I don't blame him a bit. So he may wait. There are others that are probably going to have to wait at this point. The low-end type deals, I think you can get a couple of things done here. But there's some other fish out there. There's some other options out there. Who has to wait and who might be next up? Coming up next on the Locked On Podcast Network. The sports calendar is absolutely packed, and FanDuel is making it easier and more exciting to get into the action right now because you new customers get $200 back in bonus bets after winning a $5 bet. That's $200 back on your account as bonus bets, whether you're betting on the tourney or baseball or basketball or hockey, anything that you're looking for, you can get in on the action at FanDuel.com/Locked On. Make your first bet win big at FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Now, Matt, whether you're watching Locked On Sports Today, which is a 24/7 feed that you can get here on YouTube, or whether you're just picking pieces here and there to see what the Chiefs might do next, there's a lot of speculation out there. And I always come back to the fact that if you're going to get something done this time of year, between this fourth phase of free agency and the draft, you guys know I am deep in the draft. And Matt, I'll get you a copy as soon as I get the draft guide ready. You guys can purchase it at rogueapc.com right now and get a discount by using the code LOC. I'm reluctant to spend a whole lot of money knowing that the draft is right around the corner, but there are a lot of veterans at the wide receiver position. And there's one veteran, particularly formerly of this roster, that I'd like to see back. I thought maybe there would be a push to get Mike Dana done now to see if they can return him. But if it's not this week, it feels like it probably has to be after the draft. Do you agree? And what do you think the timing is? I think I lost Matt's audio, but we're going to get him back here shortly.
There is an interesting bit of the timing about Dana and his situation, because once you get to this point, even though we're still a month away, there is the deadline for fitting into the compensation formula for free agent signings in early May. Because right now, if you sign a player, he's still going to count against the compensation formula. And the only reason that matters is that if you're a team in line to get a compensation pick and you sign a Mike Dana late in the process, now maybe you lose that draft pick that you were going to get because now you've acquired a free agent from somebody else. So that's where it really kind of freezes the market, especially for some free agents who might not be minimum salary guys. And I could see Dana still being somebody who gets, maybe a $5 million deal. He could still get that money. I think the situation he's probably in right now is that Kansas City might have the best offer. Maybe they don't. And there could be some teams out there saying, hey, Mike, you know what? Really like you, but if you can wait until like May 6th, we can sign you then, and we just don't want to lose that comp pick. So it might be in the best interest of a Mike Dana to wait a month and see where the market is. I doubt that the offer from the Chiefs is going to go away. I mean, I think there's always that fallback. Now, there's always the risk of the Chiefs do. Maybe they draft 2 edge rushers in the draft, or another edge rusher that they really like, price drops, and now they're able to add somebody, and then, there's no place for Mike Dana. But that might be at least a process worth sticking it out for, to see if there's a team might be having more money available. And maybe we see it every year. What are some veterans that sign immediately after that deadline passes, because now teams are willing to spend more because they don't have to worry about it hitting the compensation formula. And for an edge rusher, you're really not missing out that much. It's not like an offensive player where, learning the playbook is so essential. Defensively, you can come in late. And honestly, if you sign May 6th, you don't miss that much. All you've missed is off the field, for phase 1 and phase 2. You're still there for phase 3, where you can get to be on the field during OTAs and practices. So it's not a huge deal to me for a defensive player. So we'll see. Certainly there's interest on both sides. I think Mike Dana would love to come back to the Chiefs if the money is there and it makes sense for him. Chiefs would love to have him back, period. And I don't think there's any doubt about that. They love his flexibility and his versatility. But once again, it fits into the same thing. Mike Dana's got a couple of rings. He doesn't need to go ring shopping. So, and this is going to be his one and only time, really, to get the best payday possible. Even if he had to come back on a 1-year prove-it deal, maybe he gets another shot. But this is his money, his chance to get, a long-term deal for the first time.
Yeah, I in his interest, I hope that's what he gets. Now, there's also a cloud hanging over the wide receiver room right now, given some off-field incidents. I'm not going to get into that because I got nothing new to say, but I will say this is there's some veterans out there. Obviously, we're looking at the draft. Is this also because of either the comp package or because of the compensation that a veteran would need? Is this also something that we'll have to wait until after the draft if a veteran wideout was to come into town?
Yeah, I don't think it has to wait until after the draft, but it could. For once again, the exact same reasons we talked about. Now, I know there's been talk today about some smoke around Tyler Boyd, and the Chiefs having some interest. Chiefs have had interest in Tyler Boyd from the beginning, but the price was simply too high. Question now is, once again, we've gotten further into the process. Has the price come down? Is the player asking for less money now? Is that maybe more of an opportunity? And obviously the Chiefs might have more reason for an insurance policy. So does that become a possibility? And honestly, when you start thinking about that, to me, a Tyler Boyd fitting into Kansas City and looking at the opportunities he would have, with the idea that maybe he'd be the 3rd or 4th option, kind of like he was in Cincinnati. And when you start thinking, okay, wait a minute, I'm going to get one-on-one matchups against the 3rd or 4th best defensive guy, and against the Chiefs with Patrick Mahomes as my QB, that's where you can put up some numbers. So, I think it would be an attractive option for him. It is going to come down to money, though. I get the sense that, it's that hey, every player's different as far as, how important the getting the money is versus other opportunities like a ring. He's played in the Super Bowl, so, that doesn't have that ring. Maybe that's going to be more important to him. So maybe all things equal, he would choose Kansas City. But as his price comes down, and is the Chiefs' price going up because they have more need for insurance? There might be a meeting there.
Let's see what happens, folks. We're going to give you a reaction if it does. You can check out all the information at ChiefsDigest.com and at Chiefs Digest here on the platform on YouTube. Make sure you like, sub, and hit the bell on this channel. Get us on Spotify. Get us on Apple and everywhere else. We're here 5 days a week for you. Every day, as we appreciate you guys. And I'm going to have more for you anytime something drops, Matt. Thanks for your time setting us straight and keeping me from going a little bit stir crazy.
No, we can never have you going stir crazy, right? And I can't wait for the draft guide. That is by far, I always say it every year, one of the 3 pieces of information that I need for the draft every year. So kudos to you, man.
I appreciate that. It's a grind. And it's going to be a lot of fun. Interesting class. Folks, get ready for it. It's coming. Matt, thanks for being with us today, folks. Thank you for being with us. Hope you enjoy the rest of your day. We'll be back tomorrow, getting ready for that draft and going through prospects.